Can this lockout just be over? Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Phillies Sensitive Media. Today we're going to have our 6th weekly update of the offseason, as we're going to be talking about some Phillies news and some all-around baseball news. And I guess before we get into this video, please subscribe if you have not yet. Please don't forget your bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and let's get into this. So, of course, as you might know, of course, the lockout, and, not only is there a lockout, it's the offseason just very quiet around Major League Baseball, as you would expect. You go take a look at MLB Network, and they're just playing old games from the, the 90s, 80s, right? They're just playing these old classics. Nothing to be talked about. There's nothing to talk about right now. Strange times to be a baseball fan, as I keep saying. Very strange times. Let this soak in, because it doesn't happen very often. But of course, in this current, weird situation right now at the union and, the commissioner's office, it's just a very strange situation. Definitely weird indeed. This goes down on them. This is all their fault. No one else to blame but themselves. Looking for somebody to blame, they get disappointed themselves, because that's who's to blame for this whole mess. It's just ridiculous. As we kick off the first bit of news here in the weekly update, former Phillies left-handed pitcher Jim Kaat was inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame, so he's going to Cooperstown. Congratulations to him. He was with the Phillies in 1979, only one season. Of course, he spent all those years with Minnesota. Of course, originally with the Washington Senators. And then moved to, Minnesota. That's very interesting, right? Of course, the Washington Senators, modern-day Minnesota Twins. I don't think a lot of people know that. But only spent 1 year with the Phillies in 1979. Of course, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to him. And Dick Allen, we'll get to this in a little bit, snubbed. He did not get inducted into Cooperstown. Just absolutely absurd. Shame on, the writers like John Heyman, of course, the beat writers like John Heyman, all these other guys, for not voting for him. Yet they vote for guys who, cooked the record books for years. Guys like Bonds, Rodriguez, they're going to vote for them, but they're not going to vote for guys like Dick Allen. I mean, that's just pathetic, and it's just absurd, quite frankly. It's just absurd. So that's just ridiculous. And also this past week, a report came out, from Mlb Trade Rumors, which is a, official verified website. And part of this was quoted from Commissioner Manfred, and I'm going to quote right here from Mlb Trade Rumors. Here we go, and I quote, "Commissioner Manfred has already drawn a clear distinction between an off-season work stoppage and one that threatens play. And we're still months away from the specter of a lost spring training revenue." So what this basically means is it's not time to push the panic button. They still have a lot of time to get a deal done. So it's just basically saying don't worry, right? They have a lot of time. I mean, of course, there's going to be a lot to lose if they don't get something done, but they got a lot of time to get something done, and something will get done. So it's not time to worry. It is not time to worry. So any of those people out there who are worrying, please do not worry. Of course, worrying doesn't do you any good anyway. There's going to be spring training starting on time. The season will not be affected. They got a lot to lose, right? They're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. You go take a look at the money they lost in 2020. All the money they lost in 2020. Now, how in the world? I mean, they even lost money in 2021, and it was pretty much a normal season. I understand some people may disagree. I think 2021 is a normal season for the most part. Of course, it was a little bit weird at the beginning. But even think about all the money they're going to lose. Of course, right now, it's the Hanukkah, Christmas time. People are, kind of busy right now. People are distracted. But once we get down to business, people are going to think like, hey, they're just not going to stand for this. And the owners can't afford this. They cannot afford this. And the players, they don't want another season of prorated salary, so it won't happen. It will not happen. And yes, I understand, the top of the top. Of course, you got like Corey Seager, Mike Trout up there. Of course, you got Bryce. Of course, they're not really going to be affected by prorated salaries. Of course, everybody will be in a sense, but they're already loaded for life. But, the guys, low average guys, guys like Juan Soto, guys that haven't hit their payday yet, they're going to be really affected. So I can't see that happening on both sides. Of course, the owners do have, more to lose from an effective or shortened season than the players do. Both sides have something to lose. Because I firmly believe and stand by my statement of the fact that there's not going to be an affected or shortened season. That's just my opinion. Now, also this past week, the Phillies made a little international signing as they signed 19-year-old Cuban outfielder Damarion Gutierrez. And he got a bonus of $20,000. And according to this report, he's a good mix of speed and power. From what I gathered from this report, right, he seems like a very talented athlete. So David Dombrowski not letting the lockout get in his way of making, some international signings. Teams can sign minor league players, they can make some international signings. Because guess what? I mean, that's separate from the players' union. They are allowed to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. They are allowed to do that. Some people are thinking like, hey, how in the world could they be doing this in the lockout? It's separate. They're not part of the players' union. They can do that. So David Dombrowski is allowed to do that. And, all the other executives around, Major League Baseball, they are allowed to continue to make signings. So I like this, right? I mean, 19 years old, like a year older than I am, coming over from Cuba. So I know the guy you're probably not going to see for a little while. Of course, you got to take it with a grain of salt and think like, hey, I mean, how many times you hear about names like this and you just never hear their name again, right? It happens quite often. But maybe this is a name we see in the next, 4 to 5 years, maybe even sooner than that. So I wish Gutierrez the best of luck. Also this past week, the Phillies selected right-handed pitcher Matt Singler in the minor league Rule 5 draft. So I'm going to say it again. This is not the MLB Rule 5 draft. This is the minor league Rule 5 draft. So they did select him from the San Francisco Giants. So he is coming over to the Phillies now, in the minor league Rule 5 draft. So he's now in the Phillies organization. The Rule 5 draft is very, very interesting, right? You could take, players, from other teams' farm system. Of course, if you don't protect the player, then they're up for grabs. You can't just take any prospect you want. They can't be protected by the organization. There's a certain amount of players you can protect. And he was not protected, so the Phillies took him in the minor league Rule 5 draft from the San Francisco Giants. Welcome to the Phillies organization. That was a pretty good move right there. And getting back now to Dick Allen. So I said, I talked about the Jim Cat, induction into the Hall of Fame, and now I'm going to be talking about Dick Allen totally getting snubbed from the Hall of Fame. And he, of course, he did die on December 7th, 2020, so we're over a year now that he has been gone. Of course, he was inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame last summer in 2020. Of course, he had his number 15 retired. I understand. You go take a look at the career this guy had. I mean, just a great career. And the thing that I find really interesting, and I did some research, it's amazing how much the game has changed. I mean, this is a guy, who primarily played in the infield, but he could also play some outfield too. I mean, that's the thing. And back then in like the 70s, 80s, I mean, players were just so versatile. I mean, they were just so versatile, much more than they are right now. I mean, so much more than they are right now. It's just amazing how much the game has changed in so many ways. And of course, you got your versatile guys right now. You go take a look at Brad Miller, a guy who could play all around the diamond. Guys nowadays are just, coached to just play one position. I mean, usually. You still see a lot of examples of a guy, third baseman that can play first base. Of course, Bryce Harper can play center field and left field. I mean, is he a good center fielder? Absolutely not. There is a lot of versatility now in today's game, but there was way more versatility back then when Dick Allen was playing. Way more versatility back in the days when Dick Allen was playing. I mean, way more versatility back then. Something you don't really see around. That's another thing in the game that has changed. So I was actually really upset about this. And as I go back to, with these baseball writers, and these reporters like John Heyman, all these guys that can vote in the Hall of Fame, why are they voting for these cheaters? I mean, let me ask you something. Why are they voting for these cheaters? Guys that have, totally just cooked the record books for years, and yet they're criticizing guys like Pete Rose. I mean, listen, Pete Rose was wrong. Don't get me wrong. He was very, very wrong, and I can't stand Pete Rose, really. I mean, I don't really like that guy at all. Of course, former Phil, big part of the Big Red Machine with the Reds and everything like that. And my dad and my dad's side of the family have a lot of memories, watching Pete Rose. My dad grew up in Cincinnati, grew up a Reds fan, and eventually he moved to the Philly area. And Pete Rose was with the Phillies, so you pretty much watched Pete Rose play his entire career. He did spend a little time with the Expos, but that was towards the end of his career. I was criticizing guys like Pete Rose, but yet they vote for, guys like Bonds, Alex Rodriguez. I mean, why are they voting for these cheaters? I don't understand it. It's kind of contradictory if you ask me. It's hypocritical. It's contradictory. Any word you want to say. They don't want to go for a guy that had a great career in Dick Allen. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'll never understand it. So Dick Allen snubbed out of the Hall of Fame, which is just terrible. And also some really sad news. This past week, Jim Ferguson Jr., the son of former Phillies manager Jim Ferguson Sr., passed away at the age of 57 after he had a massive heart attack. And that name, really is a good connection for the Phillies. Of course, his father managed the Phillies back in the 90s. Definitely a sad day. And, my prayers go out to the Ferguson family during this difficult time. Only 57 years old. It's a very sad thing. That is a very sad thing. And also yesterday, a report came out, of course, the Arizona Fall League has been over for almost a month now, but Bryson Scott, of course, he really shined in the Arizona Fall League. He was very, very good. He put on a show. It's an example for what kind of player he's going to be, hopefully, in the big leagues to come. You all remember he wore number 5 in the Arizona Fall League. He came out and said that he wore that number in honor of his dear friend Cooper Riccardi, who passed away in 2016 at the age of 18, right? So just a tragic loss of life right there. So what a way to honor his dear friend by wearing number 5. Take a look at his jersey, the post I did on Instagram. If you go zoom in, they misspelled his jersey, which I thought was very weird, right? I mean, they spelled it S-T-O-T-T. Of course, we all know his name is Bryson Scott, not Bryson Stott. So I just noticed that. That was very, very weird. Of course, that was a typo, but definitely a weird one. Also, I want to remind you that Phillies Sensitive Media is not just available on YouTube, but it is also available on Spotify. It is also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So YouTube is not the only place where you can find me. You can have Anchor, which is the creator app for Spotify. You can also go listen to me on there. So I'm not just on YouTube. The only place you can find me with video, the MP4 style, is on YouTube. If you want to go listen to me with the podcast version, the MP3 version of just audio only, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and you can go listen to me on Anchor. Now, I don't know who would want to go listen to me on Anchor. That's, as I said before, kind of a creator's app. That's not really a listening app like a Spotify, like an Apple Podcast, like a Google Podcast. But you have that option. You have that option. The car, traveling somewhere, I can't watch Phillies Sensitive Media, but I can listen to them. You can go do that. Of course, you always can listen to me anyway, because you can just, put your phone on YouTube and just play it. But I guess it's a little bit easier. That lock your phone. That way your phone screen isn't on while the video is playing, wearing down the battery. So that's a nice luxury to have. And also, I'm sure there's some people that maybe prefer just listening. So you have that option all in the description below. I just thought I'd bring that up. All link in the description section. You guys all enjoyed this weekly update. I'm trying to get Jack Fritz, friend of the pod from 94 WIP and the High Host podcast back on. I've just been very, very busy, in the evening because, of course, I do work. My schedule just hasn't really aligned with his schedule. So I hope to get him on this upcoming week. Expect the video with Jack Fritz coming soon. Of course, I did have him on in January, so it's been almost a year. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't done yet. Please show engage the bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Check out the social media link in the description section at Phillies Sensitive Media, Instagram, TikTok, Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at PHotStoveMedia. Call or text 267-225-3292. Email me, PhilliesSensitiveMedia@gmail.com. So I'll see you all this upcoming week, right? Hopefully a video with Jack Fritz, friend of the pod, coming on. So I will talk to y'all later. I'm Luke, and I'll see you again.